My name is Narcis Buyu, and welcome to AI Tuesday once again. We have a new host on the show. Her name is Carol. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you.
Yeah, the first time vibes, the nerves are there, but it's okay. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Today, as Carol was introducing the show, she said that we'll be talking about introduction to text services and speech services in NLP, natural language processing. Isn't that what you're about to say?
Yes.
Yeah. Before I even start, can you tell the audience a bit about yourself, just for them to know you basically?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carol. I don't know why my screen is black. Oh, I've been trying to fix it, but it doesn't want. But then
Yeah,
my
you
name
can
is
just put
Carol.
avatar if that's a problem.
Sorry?
You can put the avatar. You can just switch it off basically. The camera
Okay.
off. Yeah.
Okay. As I was saying, my name is Carol Mosecha. I'm a UJ student, and I am here. I'm also here to actually learn. I'm so eager to learn about all these things. And like reading the topic today, I was like so interested that how can actually smart devices hear you when you speak? Yeah, that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't know if it's okay with you. Can take it away and get started?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Welcome once again. I'm just gonna share my screen. Um, it's been yeah. Can you see my screen?
No, we can see you. Yes,
How about now?
yes, it's loading.
Okay, cool. So how about now? Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's just showing a blank. It's showing blank. I think the moment you press play, you can be able to see.
Okay, thank you. So let's get started. Um,
So think about this. How often are you alive when the dawn of a new medium comes out? I knew that I had to be a part of VR because there are no rules for what VR should be. Starship Commander is a choose-your-own-adventure VR narrative that uses natural language processing, so you can actually have a real conversation with the characters.
I'm Sergeant Sarah Pearson. I've been assigned to your wing today.
When we started making Starship Commander, we had to figure out how do we get technology that can understand what a person's saying so that we can have these new narrative experiences. We're a science fiction game. We come up with new words. No off-the-shelf software could let us put in custom words.
Who are the Echnians?
In our story, the bad guys are called the Echnians. And every time we said Echnian, it would come up with really weird words that were similar to other things that you would say. And so it would get confused all the time. So we needed to make sure that we could supply our own script. We started using Microsoft Cognitive Services to power the backend of Starship Commander.
Looks cool.
Once we plugged custom speech service into Starship Commander, I had tears in my eyes when I was playing it because it's like, oh my God, this is it. This is the experience we want.
Open the hatch.
Voice print accepted. Welcome, Commander.
You can essentially put your script in there and it knows, oh, these are the ways that people are going to talk. And these are the phrases that they're going to say.
Cool. What's my mission?
It must be something pretty important.
And then the second thing, too, was the intent detection. With Lewis, you basically give it a couple statements. After you've given it a couple statements, you crunch it and you start typing in your own statements. And it's shockingly scary how good it picks up even stuff that you didn't put in there.
Computer, use autopilot and let's be on our way.
Autopilot engaging.
I've never seen an opportunity like this, where there's a wide open playing field. No one's written the rules yet. There's going to be tons of amazing software out there, and I just can't wait to see what other people write.
What do you think, Carol?
So think about this. How
I'm curious on what we're going to learn today. I'm very curious. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm even excited already.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for that insight. So basically, from that video alone, I know I've played it many, many times, but that video is simply highlighting what we've been talking about for the past few weeks or several months, basically about natural language processing. And on today's session, we're basically going to be focusing upon how how machines and gadgets are able to interpret spoken language and text. How and what do they make? How are they able to interpret it, and what do they do with it once they have it, basically, as you saw in the game over there, that what's my mission, and the fact that you said what's my mission, it was able to recognize or tell it what was the person, what the mission was, as you saw in that example, basically. And then on top of it, it's also a game about aliens and spaceship. We don't even have the vocabulary and the things to put in that language, but we're able to create our own language using NLP, and we're gonna get more into that, basically. And that leads me to intro to speech and text services in natural language processing. So before I even start, we're gonna just do a quick recap. What is NLP, for short, natural language processing? It's basically the processing done by devices, machine, or gadgets to understand the human language or human interactions via text and speech. Basically, it's basically how the machines is able to communicate with us human, and how they're able to communicate with one another, basically. So see, hear, speak, and understand with users in a nutshell what I've just explained now. So moving on, what are some of the key elements of natural language processing, basically? So basically, it allows you to analyze and interpret text, interpret spoken language, and synthesize speech responses. It can translate spoken or written phrases between languages, and interpret commands and determine appropriate actions. So these are the four features of what natural language processing can do, basically. I've went more in depth about it, but like this is just a recap. But if you want more information, you can watch our video about natural language processing when I just introduced everything, basically. So for the past few months or past few weeks, we've been talking about natural language processing on Microsoft Azure. We spoke about text analytics, translated text, and now we'll be talking about speech. And last but not least, in the coming weeks, we'll be focusing on LUIS, language understanding intelligence servers. So text analytics, we focused on analyzing the text, analyzing what was given to us using such things as intent detection, personal identifiable information, and key phrases, detecting entities, all that, and analyzing what the text is all about. That's why we focused on text and in text analytics. Translator text, we use the translator services to translate things, documents or text in whatever languages that we want. Over 90 languages offered in the translator text services. And now today we'll be speaking about speech. So let's see what speech is all about, basically. So speech and text services. So basically, this kind of service enables the AI assistant. Basically, this service basically enables interaction between humans and devices, as I mentioned earlier. So every time we say, "Hey Siri," "Okay Google," "Hey Cortana," all of those things are virtual assistants. And how do they make sense of the world around it? What do they know what to do when we say, "Hey Google"? How does it know how to respond? All of those things are basically speech and text services. So speech and text services in natural language consist of these few points that I've listed down: speaker recognition, intent recognition, keyword recognition, speech translation, text to speech, and speech to text, basically. So these are what some of the services that it includes, basically. Speech recognition is the ability for it to detect and interpret spoken input or spoken text. Spoken input, like as I'm speaking right now, is detecting what I'm saying. Speech synthesis is the ability for it to generate spoken output. So basically, it reads the text as it's written there, and it speaks, says it out to me. Basically, it's the same thing as Google, Siri, all those virtual assistant users. They uses these two technologies, speech recognition and speech synthesis, to work, basically. Let's uncover more about it, basically. So let's start with how does speech recognition work basically. So basically I've explained the whole process there on the slide, but I'm just quickly gonna summarize it basically. So basically, speech recognition takes spoken word and it converts it into a data that can be processed or understood by the gadget or device. So every time you say "Hey Siri," "Hey Google," it doesn't take that word, because when for like for example, as human beings, whenever we hear something, it goes into our ears, it goes to our brain, it gets processed, and we understand it as sound. But now the machine and the gadgets don't work like that. For them, you have to put it into a format, or you have to put it into a data type for it to be understood and it can be worked with it basically. So you put it into a data that can be processed, often by transcribing it into a text representation. So it takes whatever we say, it puts it into text, and then it starts working with it basically. That's how speech recognition works basically in a nutshell. Um, Speech recognition is used for providing captions, like when you're watching a series or when you want to hear what somebody is saying, you can read the caption as they're saying, creating a transcript over a phone call or meeting, basically writing down what is being said over a call or a meeting, and other interesting stuff that is useful as written down on the slide, as you can see. Moving on, as I said, it's just like a summary. I'm not gonna dive deep into it, but it's an overview, right? Speech synthesis is the ability of it to take text into speech. Basically, whatever is in text is basically put into speech. So, as I mentioned with the example with Siri and the Google, right? Every time we give it an audio file, the audio file is a sound which it records with a microphone, and then from the microphone, it takes that audio file that's been recorded and puts it into text. And from that text, it interprets what it wants. For example, what is the weather? So it takes that audio that I just puts what is the weather, and then from that, what is the weather, Google search or finds out what exactly is the weather. And then the results that it takes, it's also in text. The results that it takes, it says it out into speech. Basically, that's how it works. Speech synthesis, the ability to make speech happen. Basically, that's what speech synthesis is all about in a nutshell. It also uses the technologies that I've mentioned over here. Again, I've just summarized it in a nutshell. And then you can use speech synthesis for many purposes, including generating spoken responses to user, creating voice menus on telephone systems, for the radios, etc. So there's many ways this technology is being used one way or another. Let's go on to more about speech and text services. So we spoke about speaker recognition. So basically, speaker recognition is the ability to identify who is speaking via a clip. So, for example, if I have a voice note, like for example, if I play this recording of Carol and I, the AI service is able to recognize Carol's voice, is able to recognize my voice as well. What do you think? Just like making an example. So um, yeah, it's able to do that. So basically, this system is used in security or biometric systems, basically. So I don't know if you watch movies on more advanced areas whereby in order for them to get through a door, they have to make it like a voice command, or they have to say a certain word for them to get access to the facility or the system, basically. So this is the technology that they use. Speaker recognition, as I said, is able to recognize who is speaking in an audio clip, basically. It consists of two parts: speaker verification and speaker identification, basically. So let's talk about more of speaker verification. As you can see in the diagram, I put a diagram there to simply explain how everything works. There's enrollment audio and voice signature. So enrollment audio is when you're recording your voice and recording your voice and sharing the system how your voice sounds like, basically. And then it takes that voice and put it into a voice signature. And it's going to use that voice to check if you are the person or not, basically. As you can see over here, so this is when you're recording Roman audio and voice signature. So now once you want to check, or once you want to enter in the system, it's going to recognize your audio, and then it's going to look into the system voice characteristics. If it's the same, it's going to give you access. If it's not the same, then it's claimed. You claiming to be that person basically. That's basically claim identity. So all of this is part of speaker verification, is verifying who this person actually is. So speaker verification consists of two parts: text dependent and text independent. Text dependent, it consists of certain phrases. So you have to say a passphrase. What is a passphrase? Like a group of words. Hello, what is the weather today? A secret code. So do you have to say those passphrase? You have to say like that piece of word or pass or phrase basically, and it's gonna record that phrase, and also how you said it for you to get access into the system. If you said the correct word but in a different tone, it's gonna deny you access. If you said if you have the right voice but different phrase, it's gonna deny you access. It needs to be the same passphrase and the same voice for it to give you access. So that's text dependent. And text independent, it just focuses on the voice. It doesn't have any passphrase, doesn't rely on any phrases for it to work. It just focuses on the voice and the characteristics of the voice and what makes the voice basically. So for example, my voice is deep. It's going to recognize that I have a deep voice, and it's going to check for that characteristics in my voice when wanting to give me access. Speaker identification. Speaker identification helps determine who the speaker is, or the identity of the speaker, basically. So as I mentioned, it verifies and checks if it's the same, if it's the person is going to give you access. If it's not, it won't give you access. That's part of speaker identification, basically. So now, speaker identification works with text independent. It doesn't depend on it on any passphrase or any phrase for it to work. It's just independent on its own. It just relies on the voice. So that's basically what speaker recognition is all about. Moving forward, keyword recognition, right? Keyword recognition, it detects a word or short phrase within an audio stream. So basically, as I've been speaking about, as I've made examples earlier on about Google, about app Siri, Cantona, how do these technologies work basically? So they use this technology called keyword recognition. So now our phones are always listening for a certain keyword. So for example, for Google, it's Hey Google. For Siri, it's Hey Siri. So it's listening for those two words for it to activate. It's listening for those two words for it to act out the command. As you can see in the example, Hey Container is the keyword for container assistant for it to wake up and be used basically. So it's the ability of it to detect a short word or phrase within an audio clip basically. Another word for keyword recognition is called keyword spotting. So that's simple. What keyword recognition? It's part of speech recognition, but it's another part. It's under speech recognition, but it has its own category as well called keyword recognition. So that's the technology that it uses. So our devices are always listening. Our laptop, our phones, our fridge, our smart devices are always listening for that certain keyword, and that makes use of this technology called keyword recognition, searching for a specific keyword for it to work basically. So that's the technology. And then we move over to speech translation. What is speech translation basically? Speech translation is the ability to translate in real time into multi languages. Basically, that's what translation is. It's the ability for the AI system or the AI model to translate whatever is being said into different multiple languages, from speech to speech or speech to text. So as I'm speaking, it's going to translate it for me, or as I'm speaking, it's going to transcribe what I'm saying. So, for example, I go to a foreign country and then I have to interact, or I'm asking for directions or help. Basically, I speak in my language, and the AI system is going to translate it for me so that I can have like a real conversation with the person and they can understand what I'm saying. And then whatever they say is also being translated back to me, basically. So it helps in that scenario. For example, if I can't see, or I'm handicapped, speech to text would help. So whatever I say is being transcribed to the person, and for the person to hear, to read what I'm saying, basically, so that we can communicate. Because communication is a very important aspect of our lives, of our daily life. communication between us humans and also communication with our devices. Basically, it goes a long way. Moving on, what are the core features of speech translation? So, as I mentioned, speech to text translation with recognition results. Basically, it's recognizing certain things in what was said. Basically, speech to speech translation support translation into multiple language sockets. So basically, it depends in whatever language. As I'm speaking in English, it will be translating in Portuguese, Swahili, Zulu, whatever language you want. Basically, it's translating what I'm saying in different languages so that it can cater for everyone. Because we have to consider the minority, and that's what the technology, the majority, and that's how the technology helps. And then interim recognition and translation results. So meaning that real time, as I'm speaking, it gives out results, and that result is being used. So how exactly does this technology work? Basically, you provide an audio as I'm speaking now. The audio is being provided, and then in the background is transcribing and translating at the same time. Excuse me, and then it return results basically, and then that results can be used in whatever way we want, whether to use it as a text or use it as a speech. That's in a nutshell how this technology works. some some things to consider. um some things to consider about translation. So basically, if we have to translate, when it comes to translation, there's some rules for us to follow because all languages are different. So now with the AI must also keep into consideration these certain rules, or the rules in each language basically, so that the translation can come out accurate and can come out like it can be accurate. Basically, it can be used and it makes sense. That's what I wanted to say. For example, the French phrase, as you can read. So, for example, before I even go to the example, there's two types of translation: literal and semantic translation. Literal means you are literal word for word, right? Literal word for word, and then semantic meaning that it's changed. There's some rules applied to it. Basically, that in a nutshell, what literal and semantic translation means. For example, éteindre la lumière, right, can be translated in English as turn off the light. So éteindre la lumière is in French, and then when you translate it in English, it's turn off the light, right? However, in French, we can also say fermer la lumière, which means turn off the same thing. But now, if we use a literal translation in English, it will be close the light. You see, it doesn't make sense. So now the AI must be able to dictate and pick up that we mean turn off the light in that simple example. So these are some of the guidelines that the AI must keep note of, and I just wanted to highlight that we have to have a dictionary. We have to learn all the rules for us to translate properly in different languages. But now the AI is aware of all these things and is doing it real time, same time as we speak, basically, which is cool. That's what I wanted to highlight. What now moving on to what is text to speech, basically. Text to speech is enables our devices and tools to convert human likes into oh my god. So basically, text to speech enables our tools and application to convert text into human-like synthesized speech. So Siri, Cantona, all other virtual assistants that you can think of, they're all human-like synthesized speech. Basically, it's like they're actual humans, but they're not. They're virtual assistants. So it converts text, it converts text, and it just output into speech. So that's what text to speech is all about. It's also known as speech synthesis, as I mentioned earlier. And this technology makes use of has two features to it, basically: pre-built neural voices and custom neural voices. Basically, pre-built neural voices are out of the box voices. Basically, it's a bunch of voices, a bunch of recording offered to you that you can use by yourself already. You don't have to record or hire someone to record. Basically, you can use as it is because it's been provided for you. Over 90, over 150 voices, if I'm not mistaken. We'll check that out just now. But then custom neural voices is now you customizing the voices for yourself. For example, if I'm not happy with the pre-built new voices that are available to me, I can simply record my own voice and make it into a virtual assistant, which is cool. So if I'm not happy with Google's one, if I'm not happy with Siri's one, I can use this tool over here to um make my own voice assistant. But there's only a catch to it. It's you have to say why you wanna use it for, or why do you wanna use this technology. So there's kind of like a guideline that you have to follow, which kinds of limits you in terms of using this technology. So another features that you can use with text to speech is real-time speech synthesis. As you're speaking, as the text is being written, it speaks it out. A concrete synthesis of a long audio, meaning you can even have a 1 hour recording, a 2 hour recording, and it's gonna speak it out for you basically. And then fine tuning to speech, fine tuning text to speech output with SSML. So SSML stands for speech markup language basically. It's like the XML it's the XML file of text to speech. So basically, as I said, it's a format in which the text understands, or the devices understands what to say and what not to say, basically. So as I mentioned earlier, it gets put into a format, and that format is SSML, right? Speech markup language. We're gonna take a look at it once we do the practical. Yeah. And last but not least, speech to text. I think that's it. Oh, yeah, speech to text. So speech to text is basically enables real time or offline transcription of audio streams into text. So as I'm speaking right now, it's whatever I'm saying is being transcribed so that it's easier for people to capture, or it's recorded basically, so that I don't have to hear the video again or hear the recording again, and I'm writing word for word. That's like tiring. That's what they used to do back then. But with the help of technology, you just upload it into the system, and then boom, it transcribes it for you. So this one consists of two features: batch transcription and custom speech. So batch transcription allows you to like send a whole long recording of video, and it's gonna transcribe it for you. And custom speech basically allow it allows basically custom speech transcribes whatever is being said in real time. It doesn't have to be like a recording or what, but whatever is being said in real time is being transcribed. That's what custom speech is all about. And then we're about to go to the demo. So we're now going to get started with speech on Azure. We're going to use some of these tools. All right. So this is what we're going to be doing on the practical. We're going to create a resource group, a resource on Azure. And then after that, we're going to go into the Language Studio portal for us to for us to use what I've just spoken about in real time. So yeah, off to the practical. Any questions so far, Carol?
I wanted to ask, like, how does your phone know what you will search? For example, let's say you had a little conversation about a book. How does your phone know that? Like, how when you the moment you search, why does your phone already say book?
Okay. First example, it makes use of that technology which are called keyword recognition, right? As I mentioned, keyword recognition. So it makes use of that technology to listen for that specific word. For example, when you say "Hey Google," "Hey Siri," it picks out, it activates over there. So now, for example, if you say, "What is a book?" right, or "Tell me more about this book." So now it records whatever you said into its microphone, and as you record it, it gets converted into a format which I'm going to show you just now. It gets converted into a format, and now it looks for that book and the title of the book, and then like does a Google search in the background and gives you the results. It can either show you the results as it is, or it can detect or speak the results to you basically, depending on which option you prefer. Does that like answer your question in a way,
Yes, it
basically?
does. It does.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
no problem. Um, So this is the speech portal basically. The speech portal. So basically the speech portal. Um, okay, so before I even get started with the speech portal, the first things first is to get started on Azure, right? um, is to get started on Azure. So I've logged onto my Azure account. So in order for you to log in onto Azure account, if you have a student account, you can just use your university email and it's gonna log in. You can use that to log in because you have free $100 credits. If you have an organization account, you can use that to log in as well. And if you have your individual account and you're paying for it, you can use that as well. So I've already signed in. So in order for me to create my language resource as mentioned earlier on, I can search for it, or I can simply come here to all services right here on the menu option, all services. It's loading all services. It's loading all the services, and then we're gonna use text to speech. We're gonna search for the speech services on Azure. So these are all the resources that you have on Azure, right? But now we are looking for AI and machine learning because it's part of under AI basically. So AI and machine learning. And now once we under AI and machine learning, these are all the technologies available to us under AI and machine learning. Let me zoom in a bit, right? AI and machine learning. So these are all the technologies that we've used and that we can use basically. So now what we're looking for is language, right? So you're gonna create a language resource over here. You're gonna create a language resource. It's loading, loading. So under language, as you can see, we have translator, we have language understanding and Q&A maker. We're not focusing on that, but we are focusing on the language part of it. And then also on top here, we have speech services, right? So if I click on speech services for you to see, I haven't created anything under speech services, but you don't really need it. You can simply create a language service resource for you to get started. So how do you go about it? I've already created one. You just simply click create over here, fill in all the details, fill in all the details. It's loading. So you fill in all the details, you select what you want to use it for custom questioning and answer and text classification. I want both of them. And then I click next, right? Continue to create your resource. I fill in all the details that they're gonna ask me in order for me to create it. I'll showcase it just now, but I won't create it. I'm just showing you what to put. So you start by putting a name for your resource. Before even a name, you select your subscription that you registered with. You put your resource group. I have a resource group. A resource group is like where do you want to group what you're creating right now. So for example, an apple, a group of apple and a group of oranges, you're grouping it in whatever you want, right? And then and give it a name. You give it a name, and also you choose the region where you want your resource to be stored. So it's recommended that you store it to the region closest to where you are staying. For example, we in South Africa, the closest one is Europe, so I can choose Europe to store my one instead of the US. And then after that, you choose your pricing range. I'm gonna use the free one because I don't wanna be paying using my credits basically, and then review and create once you are done basically. So that's how you create it on Azure. So once you create it on Azure, you can simply come onto this speechmicrosoft.com portal, right? You come to that one and then sign in with your account. It's going to pick up that you have an account on Azure and you'll be able to use these services here basically. So yeah, I don't know where to start. So basically, let's start with the real-time speech to text. We're not gonna do everything. We're just gonna like use um, some of the services here, basically. So over here, I can upload a recording using the wave format, or I can record with my microphone. So let's give it a try. Testing, testing, one, two, three, testing, testing. This is a really cool session. So basically, as you can see, it translated into French because I chose French over there, but I can put it into English. So whatever language you want, like it's not limited to any language. Whatever language you want to use, Hindi, Japanese, French, Spanish, English, whatever, you can use this to transcribe your text. If you want, you can also upload it as well. So it's really up to you. So this real-time speech to text, you can create your custom speech, and then there's also a pronunciation assessment quickly as we're about to conclude the episode. So basically, this one, you can use this one to have a pronunciation test. So if I have to read these words, it's gonna rate me. How did I do? So if you want to improve your speaking, or if you want to improve how people speak in your application, you can use this tool over here to do a pronunciation assessment. So basically, to conclude, I'd like to show you other features. So Carol asked about how the what the phone or your gadget understand what you're saying basically. So if I come to voice gallery and the text to speech, I spoke about a format SSML, speech markup language basically. So now this is how it looks like as it's loading. Speech markup language. Let's see it here. So here are the voices that I spoke about, the pre-built neural voices. As you can see, over 150 voices, basically over 150 voices that you can over. I was even wrong. Over 407 voices that you can use to use in your application on your app that you want to use. Over 407 voices ranging from 140 languages, basically. And now, if I come to examples by use case, so this is an English audiobook, right? So now, as I spoke, this is the format that it takes my speech. So as I'm speaking, goes into the microphone, and into the microphone it gets converted into this format for it to understand. So it's called speech synthesis markup language. So now it over here detects the tone of your voice and what is being said basically. So now in your question, Carol, what is the name of this book, or what is this book about? It's get written over here, and then it's gonna analyze. It's gonna do a Google search based on what is written and give you the results. Basically, using this is the format that it basically it understands or interprets what is being said around it. Basically, so that's under voice gallery. And then last but not least, to conclude the speech studio is voice assistant. You basically can create your own voice assistant using custom key commands and custom keywords like hey Siri, hey Google. You can create your own one as well using this technology. So with that being said, we have reached the end of today's session. Over to you, Carol.
Thank you so much for such an informative program. I learned quite a lot in such a short period of time. I wish like if it was possible there was actually a class where we'd go and spend the whole day there. I'm sure we'd learn a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and place for everything, and that's what
Yeah,
Tuesdays are for.
true, true.
Mm,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
no problem. Before I go, is there any questions you have on your side or any questions in the chat that we had?
In the chat, I don't see any questions, but from my side, I don't have any questions.
Okay, no problem. Cool. Would you like to conclude, or must I conclude?
You can conclude. You can conclude.
Okay. So yeah, thank you again for joining us on today's episode of AI Tuesday. It's been a while since we've been back, and a big thank you to our new host Carol for joining us and being with us in today's session. I look forward to seeing what's in store for Inspire Say along the way. We have major announcements coming up, new technologies to show exactly. So we're looking forward to that as well. And as for tonight, all I can say is don't forget to like, subscribe, and share as well. And if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, you can just let us know onto the chat, or you can write to us. So from my side and from Carol's side as well, and the rest of the Inspire Say crew, we wish you a good evening and see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.